Welcome, brave souls, to the fire's flickering light, where shadows dance and whispers of the unknown drift on the wind. I'm Sam Hain, your guide through the eerie tales that haunt the darkest corners of your imagination. Tonight, we gather around the flames to uncover stories that will chill your bones, make your heart race, and keep you looking over your shoulder. From ancient legends to ghastly encounters, these tales are not for the faint of heart. So, stoke the fire, lean in close, and prepare yourself for a journey into the realm of the strange and the sinister. Are you ready to be afraid? Let the storytelling begin. Scottish Highlands are a place of rugged beauty, endless hills rolling into the horizon, mist draped over ancient forests and lochs as black as night. But they also carry an air of ancient mystery, filled deep with legends of creatures long forgotten. This is where our story begins, with a group of 5 close friends who had ventured into the Highlands, seeking nothing more than a weekend escape, unaware that something much older was watching them. It was late afternoon when Tom, Mark, Jamie, Ryan and Scott arrived at Glen, a sweeping valley famous for its haunting beauty. They were all in their late 20s, lifelong friends who had grown up together in nearby towns. They had planned this camping trip as a way to unwind, to relive their youth, just 5 lads in the wilderness, enjoying a weekend of hiking, laughter and campfire stories. The sun was beginning to dip behind the mountains as they set up their camp in a clearing near a small loch. As dusk settled, they gathered around the fire, passing around a flask of whiskey and joking about the cold, when Tom, the most superstitious of the group, brought up the legend of the Baobhan. You ever hear of her? Tom said, his eyes glinting in the firelight. The Baobhan, she's like a vampire, but worse. They say she preys on men out here, especially those who wander too far from the safety of the towns. Appears as a beautiful woman, sometimes more than one, to lure you in, but once she has you, she drains you dry. Ryan scoffed. Come on, mate. It's just a story. You're not going to scare us with some old Highland myth. Mark grinned, shaking his head. What? You're telling me some sexy vampire is going to come out of the woods and attack us? Sure, Tom. But the wind seemed to pick up as Tom spoke again, almost as if the forest itself was listening. Call it a myth if you want, but my gran used to swear they were real. Said you'd hear them first. Women laughing, dancing just out of sight, and if you hear that, you're already in trouble. The group laughed nervously, the flames flickering higher as night fully descended. But as the fire crackled and their jokes continued, none of them noticed the mist creeping in from the loch, thickening in the moonlight. Hours passed, and the campfire began to die. The whiskey was gone, and Scott, ever the outdoorsman, offered to fetch more firewood from a nearby tree line. Tom stood as well, his unease growing. Wait, we should stick together. It's easy to get lost out here in the mist. Reluctantly, the others followed as Brian led the way into the trees. The beam of his flashlight cut through the fog, but it did little else to ease their growing anxiety. The woods were eerily silent. No sounds of animals, no rustling of leaves, just an unnatural stillness. Then they heard it, a soft, melodic laugh carried on the wind. Ryan stopped dead in his tracks. Did you hear that? Maybe Scott's playing a prank, Jamie suggested, but his voice shook. The laugh came again, followed by the faint sound of footsteps dancing through the trees. It sounded like more than one person. No, more than one woman. A figure appeared in the mist ahead, moving gracefully between the trees. The group froze, unsure of what they were seeing. It was a woman. No. two women, both beautiful, with long flowing hair and dresses that seemed to shimmer in the moonlight. They moved with an unnatural grace, almost gliding across the forest floor. Help, Mark whispered, but before he could finish, the women disappeared into the mist again, their laughter echoing through the trees. God, Tom called out, his voice trembling now. But the only reply was more laughter, closer this time. Then they saw him, Scott, standing in the shadows ahead, his back to them. Scott, what the hell, man? Ryan shouted, rushing forward. But as he reached him, Scott turned slowly, his eyes wide, mouth hanging open as though he had seen something beyond comprehension. His skin was pale, too pale, and there was blood on his neck. They're coming, Scott whispered, before collapsing to the ground. Suddenly, their laughter was all around them, echoing from every direction. Out of the mist, the women reappeared, but their faces had changed. What had been beautiful was now twisted and terrifying, eyes glowing with hunger, mouths full of sharp, gleaming teeth. Run! Tom screamed, but it was too late. The Baobhan descended upon them, moving faster than the eye could follow, their claws slicing through the air. The men tried to flee, but the mist was too thick, the trees too dense. One by one, they fell, their screams swallowed by the night. By morning, the mist cleared. The campsite was abandoned, the fire long dead. All that remained were the men's belongings, scattered and untouched, and 5 sets of footprints leading into the trees. Footprints that stopped abruptly, as if they had vanished into thin air. The local villagers would later say they heard nothing unusual that night, just the wind in the trees and the distant sound of women laughing carried on the breeze. Thanks for joining me around the fire tonight, brave souls. If this tale of the Baobhan sent chills down your spine, then don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more terrifying tales from the shadows. The Scottish Highlands are full of stories like this one. Some say they're just legends, but who's to say what truly lurks in the mist? Maybe next time you'll think twice before venturing out alone at night. Stay safe out there, and remember, some legends never die. They're just waiting for the right moment to come to life. Until next time, I'm Sam Hain, reminding you to sleep with one eye open, if you can.